Okay, so in the previous video we set up a conceptual model and a grid, and this is the result. What we want to do now is make this into a model with some results. So what we did when we specified this grid frame was we generated a grid that looked like this, and also the software produced this entry into the Project Explorer. So to add the Modflow model, we go here to Grid, select that, right click, and select New Modflow. And so this menu here is probably familiar. This is the same one that we had in the previous exercise. What we need to do here is select the starting heads, and we will use a starting head of 50, which is the top of the model. We hit OK. And in this case, we shouldn't need to modify the top elevation and bottom elevation. So we select OK. And let's take a look at this in plan view. So there's our region. And we should be able to go and check the simulation. Well, actually, first we want to map the model to the Modflow. So we click the mapping button and hit OK. And what we should get then is these purple, I guess they're diamonds. They're purple symbols in the grid blocks. Those symbols indicate the constant head boundaries that represents the stream. So that's what you should see. And we should go ahead and check this. Go to check simulation, run check. And looks like there are no warnings or errors, so we're good. So now we can run it. Okay, so we want to save this model. Yeah, sure, but we'll go to Square Watershed, save it. Actually, I'm going to call it Square Ground Watershed. So it saves the model, it runs it, ran successfully, and we get the results that look like this. Now it's kind of cluttered here. So to make this a little bit easier to see, go to Display Options, and we'll turn off the cell edges of the grid, and we'll also go to Modflow. And this is a flooded cell has a blue triangle in it, so we'll uncheck that, and there are the results for the hydraulic head. We start at 50 here, which was our boundary condition, and we went up to 65, and then up here in up by the divide we have a head of 90. And so this is 500 meters from here to here, and we have 60 to 90, about 30 meters of head. So that's a reasonable gradient. Actually, it's fairly steep gradient, but still reasonable. This is just a simple idealized model, but it's in the right ballpark. And so let's go ahead here to the contour options and check the let's just do the color fill, and I'm going to make these slightly transparent. So there we go, and we can see the 50 and the 65 underneath. Now what we might want to do is just take a look at how this appears in 3D. So there's the model in 3D, and if we click this thing here, we can rotate it around and see what it looks like in 3D. Okay, so pretty good. You can see that the contours go down fairly steeply vertically. Okay, so very good. What we want to do now is enter in some streamlines. So I'm going to go back to the plan view, and we want to be able to run mod path. And so you notice that we don't see mod path up here. So what we need to do is to right click on the project and go to Model Interfaces. and select that, and then go right here to mod path. You can see mod flow is checked, but we also want to check mod path and hit OK, and now mod path shows up here. So we go and select the map, and this will allow us to put in points here. So what I want to do is just see what the flow path is for points that are starting up here around the divide, and these guys should go to the stream. So let's go here and make these points a little bit easier to see. So we go to contour, and I'm going to make this a little more transparent, and well, we can see just barely now the points here. I guess the difference is now we have these we have one of these contours, one of these surfaces at each layer. So we've got 5 of them, so we need to have it even more transparent if we're going to see all the way through it. So I guess we just turn them off. There we go. And I'm going to go here to select. I'm going to erase that. That may cause us some problems. Okay, so here are the points, and we'll just treat these points. And one of the things that I should have pointed out is that before we put those points in, we should have made sure to select this coverage so that we can have the points in this coverage and don't have them interfering with these other coverages. So now we have to go and just basically we're going to run these points in ModPath the way we have for the previous exercise. We're going to select them, and we'll right click, select intersecting objects, OK, go to mod path, generate particles at intersecting cells, and hit OK, and then we'll turn the 3D grid data back on. And there you see these flow lines, and it looks like maybe we want to go and make it even more transparent, so we hit OK. So there are the flow lines, and you can see they're perpendicular to these contours, although keep in mind now these are 5 different layers of contours. If we look at this in cross section, right now you can see the flow lines. They're starting here at the ground surface and going down and then coming up to the stream. We don't see the contours in this view because we're looking at them just end on, right along the edge. But these are the kind of flow lines that we expect. And also keep in mind that these flow lines it's these flow lines, and what we're doing is looking at it with this view, we're looking at it end on. So this line right here is this line, or perhaps this line. But what we're seeing is the projection of these lines in this direction. Okay, and so let's try doing this. Let's try looking at this in perspective view, and we'll rotate it around. What we want to do is go to ortho mode, uncheck ortho mode, and then here check oblique view. And so this is now the oblique view, and we can rotate it around. So this is, you can see the flow lines coming down where it's being recharged, going down vertically, then going horizontally and coming back up. And so this is indeed what we would expect. We can look at it underneath, spin it around, get some pretty nice perspectives on it. One thing though is that this model is this is a fairly realistic geometry, and the aquifer is quite thin. So to be able to see it in a little more, just to be able to visualize it a little bit better, I think what will be helpful is to go to display options, and we'll give some Z magnification. So let's magnify it in the Z direction by a factor of 5. So now it's taller than it is by a factor of 5, some vertical exaggeration. And you can see those 5 layers, but now you see the flow lines. It's pretty nice. I like this. You can see it's got this vertical component downwards where the where it's infiltrating, it's been recharged. This is all the saturated zone. So we've got a vertical gradient going downwards and then horizontal, and then right here in the vicinity of the stream, the flow lines curve upward and they all discharge to this stream. So that's what we should expect. This is really the kind of flow path geometry that I think we would expect from what I've been drawing on the board, except now we see how it's manifested in 3 dimensions. Okay, so what I want you to do for this part of the assignment is to make a map, basically set this model up and generate some flow lines, generate some contours, and then do a capture of this map in plan view and in map view like this one. Do some work in cross section and maybe tip it a little bit, and label what you've generated. You should be able to go to edit and do a screen capture and paste it in Word. So do a few of these screen captures, and then annotate the captures by hand so you describe what it is that you're showing.